What are you drinking over there, by the way, Randall? I saw you sipping on some kind of weird beer tequila concoction, I'm sure.
Actually, this is a yuzu coconut tequila concoction. Ooh, thank you very much.
Dude, I tried... it's a cocktail. It's not a beer of any kind.
It is my own cocktail, yes.
Nice. Because I tried, I got these, now they make not 2-hearted ale, but they make light-hearted ale. Everybody's coming out with these
3-hearted.
Everybody's making out, everybody's making out, man. Everybody's making and coming out with these new, like, low-cal IPAs.
Sure.
And so the light-hearted ale is like a low-cal version of the 2-hearted. And it's like 3.7% ABV. So it's like basically just a session IPA is all it is with low-cal.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's probably a lighter flavor. I was like, Randy's always pouring booze in his beer. Let me try this out. I had like this sampler pack and I tried pouring I was like, it's a light IPA. Maybe I'll just add there were like these, they're like fruit liqueurs, so it was like a rhubarb and an apricot. And I was like, like a rhubarb IPA sounds good, Yeah. Randy's always making it was gross.
It's my
I was
secret.
like choking it down.
It's always gross.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. This is episode number 44, and my name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with Randall Nolery.
Hey everybody.
DJ Mandolini.
Yo.
And John Hines.
Hello.
And we're back as always in full force to talk about some video games.
Yeah.
And this week, Randall's playing some of the recently released retro stuff on the Switch, or I guess not that recently, but you've been playing some of that Disney's Aladdin.
Yes,
and
sir.
I guess you've only been playing Aladdin, but the Disney's, I think it's a combo pack, right?
Combo pack, Disney classic games, Aladdin and Lion King. But I've just been playing the Aladdin part because that's the good game. Well, good in quotations.
Well, but there's multiple versions, right, of Aladdin. Like, so why don't you give us the rundown? Because I know you got the research right in front of you.
Yeah, maybe not.
Well, no, never mind. Don't. But what version have you been playing?
I have been playing the Genesis version, and I will say I did flip on what I'm assuming is the Game Boy Color version of Aladdin, which runs at a very low frame rate. I would not recommend. It was like as a curiosity, I'm glad that they added it to that collection. Digital Clips is pretty good at that sort of thing, where they'll add like just those extra elements. You can tell that they've got love for these games and the other retro collections that they've done in the past.
What else have they released? Is there anything that you know off the top of your head, or?
I shouldn't have said that, huh?
God, man, you were talking all this game about the research, Randall.
No, you were talking about my research.
Now I'm grilling you. Now I'm grilling you. I'm sorry, but yeah. So like, does it have? So you're playing the Genesis version of Aladdin. Does it have the Super Nintendo version? Because I know there's always been that debate between which version is better, because they are two. Not completely different games, but they are very different games.
They are very different games. It does not have the Super Nintendo version developed by Capcom. That game was way more kind of platform-centric. It feels very much like a Capcom platformer from the 8 or 16-bit era. It just is that. To the point where I would say, and to be fair, I didn't grow up with the Super Nintendo, but playing that now, I own it now on Super Nintendo. It doesn't really stand out to me. It just feels like kind of another platformer, like an above average platformer, but just a regular platformer nonetheless. Whereas Disney's Aladdin on Genesis by Virgin Interactive feels more like, okay, they researched the crap out of Aladdin and they just based it off of that movie, to the point where this is fairly common knowledge in the retro scene, but like they worked with Disney animators to turn, those cell art into sprites, and it just jumps off the screen. Like, it still looks really good as far as I'm concerned. So
they do look great, and for what it's worth, my experience growing up was playing the Super Nintendo version. I didn't have it, but one of my friends did.
Yeah,
and we played that game a lot, and I think that game still also looks great. I mean, there's a slight difference, but I mean the animations are still really fluid, really nice,
really colorful game too.
Yeah, and the level design is like, I know what you mean though. Like, it just feels like it could have been any character, and they could have just swapped the skin to a different Disney movie.
Yep.
And could have been a very similar game, but still fun. It controlled well. You know, Capcom is always great at that. But I guess I've never actually. I don't think I've really played the Genesis version.
It's, growing up, it was probably one of my first Genesis games. In fact, Lion King was my first Genesis game. It was packed in with my Genesis Model 2 from Toys R Us when I got my 100 free Jeffrey bucks by winning the fundraiser competition. But that's a whole nother story for another time.
I have a similar story on how I purchased my N64 through the Boy Scouts of America. Jeffrey bucks.
Good old Jeffrey bucks, man.
I know, Jeffrey coming through in the clutch.
It was to the point where I was like, should I even go with a Genesis or a Super Nintendo? I can get this. And I'm pretty sure at that point it was the Mario collection was packed into the Super Nintendo bundle that had Mario World along with the remade 1, 2, 3. Versus I could also
such a great package.
I know. An all-time package. Versus there was like another Genesis one that I think had that Sonic, it was like some sort of like Genesis Mega Mix that might have had like Revenge of Shinobi and I think Sonic 1 and some other games like Columns or whatever. But no, I had to go with the new thing, so I went with Lion King, and then I knew what pain was because then I played Lion King and got to the infamous monkey level, which I think is level 2, where you barely could progress if you didn't have it memorized, which I think they've kind of come out and said after the fact that was a deterrent to keep kids from beating it within a rental time period over a weekend.
There was a lot of that going on back in the retro days.
Lots. You definitely had to have a lot of patience in that retro scene, and especially playing them now because I played a lot more Disney's Aladdin, and I'm still kind of feeling some of that design decision happening in the Genesis version. A lot of kind of blind jumps into enemies you can't quite see. A lot of kind of rote memorization if you want to be successful. Like I said, I love how the game looks. I love how the game sounds. They did a phenomenal job taking what's obviously a great movie soundtrack and putting it on the Genesis. Which is
impressive though, because the Genesis soundtracks were. I know some people love the Genesis, but I think that's kind of a common like knock against between the Genesis and Super Nintendo in that era. It was like the Genesis sound card is not leaves a little to be desired, or sound chip.
Yes, although I feel like the narrative might be shifting a little bit on there. Or at least that's the way I feel. Like I think
stuff like Streets of Rage 2, and even have you heard the Streets of Rage 3 soundtrack? I know it's not as well regarded game wise, but the soundtrack is crazy. Like they released it on vinyl, and I heard some clips on a podcast or something, and I was like, "This is nuts!" Yeah. So it was a very weird soundtrack. So I'm curious to hear that.
I haven't listened through it, but I still need to. I've never owned Streets of Rage 3 because I've heard it's so brutal, and again, they altered the difficulty for the rental market in the U.S. versus the Japanese version, which sucks.
Yeah. One of the rare cases where the American version is harder than the Japanese version. Because a lot of times it's the other way around. But
same with Contra Hardcore on Genesis.
Yeah. I think a lot of the problem with both Disney's Aladdin and Lion King, I do feel like part of the difficulty comes from like how big the sprites are. Like the animation looks so great, but then like you said, because the sprites are so huge and it's kind of zoomed in, you're like taking those leaps of faith into enemies or whatever, into like a briar patch that's going to kill you. So
kind of like I love Prince of Persia or games like that. There's a lot of animation priority and just kind of priority on visuals as opposed to gameplay, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Lion King does a lot of like shifting up the gameplay. Like you do a little like regular 2D platforming level at first, and then you're doing like the stampede from the movie, but you're like kind of Simba's like running towards the screen and you're dodging obstacles like in almost like a 3D perspective almost. And then like the second level, like you're talking about, you're riding on the ostrich and jumping on the monkeys, which actually it's tedious, but it's actually not. It's not that bad, but there is like a lot of like pixel perfect. Like you gotta jump and grab the hippo's tail.
I
and
want
like
you to
if
play
you're
that now,
even,
Kevin.
Okay. I was gonna say I played it kind of recently, but not that recently. But I enjoyed those games. But me and my brother would definitely. We got some frustrations out on that game for sure.
Although I will say with this collection, Digital Clips, and I did look up, they did the SNK Anniversary Collection and the Disney Afternoon Collection that had like DuckTales and Chip 'n Dale and stuff. So they've done a lot of that stuff. I own a lot of that stuff. It's great. But they did add a lot of quality of life features into this collection, like the ability to rewind, the ability to save wherever you want.
That's
beautiful.
So important.
It's huge. And like
these games are hard, very hard.
Just like, I don't have time for this bullshit hard. Like, just not good level design hard, just hard to be hard, right?
Yeah, retro, like, it's almost like a relic of, like, that arcade mentality of, like, again, just with the rental thing, like you said.
Yes, it is. But, you know, I'm still playing through Aladdin. I am not being shy about using the rewind function, and no one can tell me otherwise. I want to see through this game. You know, I'm not 8 years old with infinite time anymore, so this is my way of doing so. But I'm having a good enough time. But it is like, I'm like, oh yeah, if I wouldn't have, you know, used the rewind feature like 8 times here on this like magic carpet ride, I probably would have quit this. Like, this just wouldn't happen. Although I will say, it's also the better Aladdin because you get a sword and you can throw apples, and you can't use a sword in the Super Nintendo version.
Are you sure? I feel like I remember having a sword in that game, but maybe I'm just picturing the enemies actually now that I think about it. Yeah, the enemies have like huge sabers, but yes, you do not. Now, do you know, is the Genesis and Super Nintendo version different for Lion King, or are those the same game essentially?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both Virgin Interactive developed. Same game. I don't think there's really that, although I think, again, the Genesis was the lead platform. So, yeah, you know, I prefer to play it on the Genesis, but I don't really prefer to play it at all.
Yeah. It's not that bad. It's not that good. Don't get me wrong, but it's I have fond memories maybe, and that's what's tainting my memories of it. But it looks great. Again, it nails that Disney animation. It does. It's super bright and colorful. They nail the soundtrack. They did. And I did love on the Super Nintendo, at least with the button layout, and I believe this was a little nod to Barry Sanders.
All right.
If you, on the menu screen, if you type in the code BARRY, you could then go to a level select screen and just start at any level. So I was able to, like, as a kid, play the boss battle against Scar at the very end and, like, see some of the later levels that I've never... My cousin told me about it. That he maybe found in Nintendo Power or something. I remember
that too, to be honest with you, and I have not thought about that in years, but I also use that to fight Scar. Otherwise, it'd be impossible.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, like, oh, but if somebody had this on the Genesis, they don't have the L and R buttons, so what would they do? They don't have the Barry code. But I'm sure they just had a code to input in some other way.
There's a 6-button controller on Genesis. You had X, Y,
but it doesn't have L and R. You can't spell out Barry with the buttons that are available. So
I guess that's true.
Although it did have that weird R button on some of those Genesis controllers, that weird little gray button that wasn't really a button, and it just kind of half-ass clicked when you pushed it.
It's because it's not meant to be a button. It's allowed them to get around. It's on the 6-button controller specifically, and it's allows them on certain games like Golden Axe 2 to enable you to use your 6-button controller as a 3-button controller. Otherwise, it wouldn't let you progress. In a few games like that were explicitly developed for the 3-button controller.
Oh, he just rocked you, Kevin.
I know. And Randall, as he's like, I didn't do any research, he just pulls that off the top of his head. Oh, so the 6-button controllers have 2 different modes.
Also, in Star Wars, in Star Wars Arcade for 32X, if you press the mode button, it changes your viewpoint from third person to first person. Continue.
Okay, nice. Heck yeah. So anyways, what do you feel? Do you feel like this is a package worth recommending? I know you bought it physically, so I know I know these packages sometimes almost act as like a museum of sorts. You know, it's like a way to relive these games, and I have fond memories of both of these games. Not so much the Genesis Aladdin. I didn't have a Genesis growing up, but like played a lot of the NES Disney games growing up, a lot of them.
Me too.
And just have really fond memories of those games. It was like nowadays, like a licensed game comes out, although I think that's kind of turning around a little bit, with like the Batman Arkham Asylum games, the last Spider-Man game's supposed to be great.
Yeah.
Like I feel like some of these licensed games that's not so much a stigma anymore.
Right.
But at a point in time, there was this era in the Super 16-bit era, and it seemed like after that, licensed games, movie games kind of took a dive.
Big time.
Once they went to 3D, because I think, in 2D, you have a basic platforming template. It's like you can just plug in some nice if you have some nice animation and solid controls, you got a good game.
Totally.
Basically, So, and some good level design, obviously, but
Yeah, I'd say as like a curiosity package, and if you're willing to forgive things for the sake of nostalgia, I'd say it's worth getting, because they did include a lot of like art assets around the development of the game. Obviously, like I kind of mentioned before, you get a couple portable versions and alternate versions of both of these games, which is, you know, even if you only boot it once, is a cool thing to have on hand. And, you know, if you're willing to treat Disney's Aladdin as a game that only has 3 levels, it's pretty good. Once you get to the dungeon and the Cave of Wonders, those skeletons that explode just really piss me off. It's just more off-screen bullshit, and the game is just like destroying your will over time. The first 3 levels are great though.
Yeah, the Cave of Wonders in the Super Nintendo version was also, I just remember my friend and I it's like one hit kill, and it's almost like a shoot 'em up level. Like you're not able to shoot anything, but I think you're kind of just dodging obstacles, and there's
similar,
just like
very
waves
similar
of lava. It's insane. We did beat it eventually, but we never beat that game.
No, it's basically like what's that called? The Turbo Track or whatever in Battletoads. It's like that.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Now, so what about if you didn't have the nostalgia? Like if you had never played these games and you were just like looking to pick them up, do you think it's a worthwhile package, or do you think you need to be bringing that with you?
Yeah, I think you should probably bring.
Yeah, if you're DJ or John who haven't waited a ton during this conversation.
Yeah, no, no. Sorry, guys, I don't think so. If you don't have the nostalgia goggles or at least a passing interest in retro games of this vintage, you know,
maybe like a diehard Disney fan, maybe.
Yeah,
could find some interest in there.
My interest would be in beating a game you didn't beat.
You've done enough of that in your life, I think. But it is a little bit of that like cheap difficulty, and it's particularly with Lion King. Some of the jumps, like the momentum of jumping, like if you're sometimes you do this like short, really tall, shallow jump where you don't really cover a lot of distance, and it's like it's hard to judge if you're like running or doing a running jump, or if you're doing like this kind of stationary jump. But anyways, I guess a worthwhile package if you're looking for some nostalgia,
or you're a Disney head, go for it.
Good deal. Well, this week I've been sinking most of my gaming time into Forager, which is a game that came out probably 6 months or so ago. I'm just pulling that number out of my ass, but it came out not too long ago on the Switch, and I think it was available on other platforms not too long before that. But it's very similar to I've sunk a lot of time into stuff like Stardew Valley, which is I don't have a ton of experience with Harvest Moon, but Stardew Valley is like a very slow, methodical, like relaxing experience, and I love it for that. Although I was kind of surprised with like the day time limits and like the energy and all that stuff. Like I was surprised that you do have to do a little bit of strategizing, or that might be a little bit heavy of a term to use for Stardew Valley.
And there's some stuff that can kill you, for what that's worth.
Yeah.
I've witnessed that secondhand.
But Forager just kind of like whittles that experience down, and it like so you move a lot quicker. It has like even less detailed pixel art, like it's more of an 8-bit style as opposed to maybe not even 8-bit, but it's definitely not like a 16-bit style like Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
I do enjoy the music a ton. I do like the Stardew Valley soundtrack is one of the best video game soundtracks of all time, in my opinion.
Damn.
So it doesn't quite live up to that, and there's not anywhere near as much variety in what I've played so far. I've probably put about 11 or 12 hours in to the campaign that I'm playing, and it's hard to put, because like, to be honest, I really haven't done anything in this game. Like, it is kind of like it is a game all about grinding and crafting and
seeing those numbers go up.
Exactly.
Yes,
and you're just like, so not like, but you're able to like Stardew Valley is like everything you do, like you kind of have to be like, okay, I'm gonna water my crops today. Okay, I'm gonna go to the quarry and try to mine some stuff, and that's like my plan for the day. Forager's just like you're just zipping around all over the place. Things are just like continuously, like whether you can build quarries on like a little patch of land. So you start off on one little patch of land that's like the map is like broken up into these different chunks, these different squares, and as you gain money from collecting resources that you sell or however you there's a few other ways that you can get money, but mostly selling resources and collecting gold and stuff from different things. you buy new chunks of land and you expand the map. And it's not a roguelike or anything like that, but like this feels like a map that that's kind of scripted.
Okay.
And I have unlocked, like, it seems like there's a couple dungeons I've gone inside, so that seem like there's maybe some more combat or some more puzzles, but I haven't really explored that much. I've been spending all my time pretty much on the surface and just unlocking new chunks of land. And basically, so you start off in kind of like just like a pasture, not forest, but like trees and just random rocks and stuff are growing. And then as you unlock, like I've unlocked kind of like a icy area of the island, and I've unlocked like a desert area, and it's all interconnected, and you have to like, each chunk of land is kind of like its own little island. You have to like craft and build bridges that you can craft and build and connect. So you're kind of like, the world is created, but then you're able to kind of craft it around the way you want. Like if you wanted to, you could cover all the waterways with bridges, and that uses everything you do uses resources that you collect. And it's like, again, I do really enjoy the music, but this is definitely a game where you're just like, okay, I'm going to fire up a podcast I want to listen to, or so, you're just kind of mindlessly playing, and I'll play for like an hour or two at a time, and I'll just kind of like chip away. I'll level up, and I really like the way the way the level up tree, the skill tree works is awesome. There's like 4 boxes, and when you go to level up, or when you first level up, there's 4 different things you can pick from in 4 different categories. And so like if you pick it's in like 4 quadrants, I guess, in a square. So like if you pick the top left quadrant and you level up that, and every time you level up you get 1 skill point, you get 1 choice. So like, let's say I choose to level up my farms or whatever, and then my farms now produce more crops, or I haven't even unlocked farms yet, actually, but that's one of the options. But then when you select that, then it will unlock the 2 tree tiers that are either above, or the 2 adjacent tiles, essentially. Okay. And it keeps expanding out. And I think there's a total, it looks like you can level up 64 times. I'm at about level 32. Okay. And that is, so I'm about halfway, I guess, but that is becoming like obviously longer and longer chunks of time between leveling up.
Right.
But you're getting experience from just mining things. Now I've like built mining rods on different parts of the island. I've leveled up different perks that now I don't have to go collect the resources. Like if they're mined, they just get automatically shipped to me.
Nice.
I've built a backpack that now, like, you have to keep crafting new backpacks that can hold more items and more storage. Now I've built vaults in different parts of the island that can hold even more items.
Nice.
I've built windmills that I can now start like baking bread and making flour and making. I mean, it is just never ending. I just keep stacking and stacking, and it's like, what else is going to be in this? Now I built like an oil mining rig in the water, and now I can make plastic out of that and turn it into fiberglass. And then now I made a tycoon wallet. I've like leveled up my wallet a bunch of times, and like now coins are worth like 225% of what they normally are worth.
Yes.
And then if you have banks, you can like
DJ is hating this, and I'm loving this. Like, we are like, he is as angry as I am excited.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, Go ahead.
Are any of those individual activities actually fun, aside from like the sense of accomplishment you get?
You make the numbers
I don't know, because what's that?
You make the numbers go up, DJ.
Numbers going up feels so good.
Yes,
it releases the dopamine in my brain.
It really does,
Diablo,
and it's like
over and over again when you say things like that. Yeah.
It is one of those things where, like I said, I do find myself at this point, 10 or 12 hours in, I find myself like doing it while I'm doing something else. It is kind of like I maybe that will change once I start digging into the dungeons a little bit. But like, you're getting sand. You're clearing all the rocks off an area of land, and then you can take out your shovel, dig up sand. Then you get sand, and you can craft that into glass, which then you can craft into bottles and jars.
It sounds like chores.
It kind of is. It kind of is, but it just, the aesthetics are so pleasing, and it's such like it's like Stardew Valley, and it just ramps that up and like cuts out. You don't have to worry about having a social life. You don't have to worry about talking to people, dating people. You don't have to worry about
revitalizing a small town.
Yeah, nothing about that.
Repairing the relationships between different people.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about letting your grandfather down and ruining his farm that he left you in his will.
So this is just cold hard capitalism, is what you're telling me.
This is cold, yes, and it is just make the numbers go up, and And it's great. I love it. I can't stop playing it. It's like if I don't know what to play, I just fire up Forager, and an hour disappears at least every time I fire it up. So
I'm very interested. Have any of you guys ever played a clicker game?
I've heard familiar with the genre.
I know. I've never played any.
What is that?
Okay, so a clicker game. Oh man, DJ, you're gonna get real mad.
I think you taught me about this actually.
There's like a particular game called Cow Clicker, which I don't know if you're familiar with. There's
Clicker Heroes. There's Cookie Clicker. But basically,
you're literally just clicking.
But then you eventually unlock the ability to auto click,
right?
And then you get an ability that multiplies the auto clicker until you're getting to like literally numbers that are like in scientific notation because they're too big to fit on the screen, and like that is like at the core of like seeing numbers go up. But like there was actually
trash.
Kevin, do you remember Vostok Inc. was a game that I
remember seeing you play it all the time, and I remember going like, "Hey, you're playing that all the time. Should I pick that up because it would go on sale from time to time?" And you're like,
"No,
I don't think so."
So Vostok Inc. was a take on the clicker genre that was also a kind of twin stick space shooter. Ooh. So like I was able to tell myself enough that there was a game involved in it that I could ignore the fact that I'm basically just leaving it on for hours at a time to let numbers go up. But it was a similar type of thing.
I think I downloaded the demo for that once, Kevin.
I was going to say, like
I would have turned this off in the first 5 seconds.
I do remember that while you were here. I do like the art style and stuff, but I said that after having known that you were like, don't get this game.
Yeah.
So
like, and I enjoyed it. I beat that game, which is absurd.
Yeah, we have problems.
Yeah, but like, I think that games like Forager and Vostok Inc. like they have at least some actual game mechanics.
I was just gonna say it's like you have a little agency
that like you may be like just getting to the points where you can like unlock the game to play itself to some degree. Yes. But like there is that still like you need to move it forward and you need to be involved in it.
And you're still making choices.
Yeah. And I think that I enjoy the genre, even though I also hate the genre. Yeah. But I can't deny the fact that like my monkey brain just like gets really happy when I'm playing them.
Well, what I will say is like again, I don't have any experience with these clicker games, and I don't know what kind of depth they're bringing to the mechanics or not. But like this is like the thing that's nice is like as I'm unlocking things that are then becoming more automated, like now I have these mining, like basically if you build like a mining, I forget if it's called a mining tower, mining rod, I think, and it's like these lightning rods that you just put anywhere if you have enough steel and coal. I forget what you need to build them, but like basically whatever you need, if you have enough of them, you craft them, and they keep going up incrementally every time you build one. They cost more of those resources, I think. Mm-hmm. But then you build those, and that pretty much will cover a whole like island tile almost. And you can basically put that there, and it starts carving, like it'll just collect all those rocks or tree, anything. It just zaps it. It doesn't shoot enemies, I don't think, but it'll shoot anything else and just collect it for you now that I have that perk. And so now my time is freed up. I don't really have to... I still spend some time collecting resources, but like where the first part of the game, that's most of my time was spent just physically pickaxing rocks and collecting the resources now. But like as you level up too, like I have upgraded my shovel a few times, so now every time I dig, not only is it covering a bigger area, it gives me sand every time. There's the chance for like ore and minerals to pop up, so it's like It just keeps like exponentially growing.
So you're advancing in the game, so you have to play less in the game.
Kind of, but then there will be a new mechanic or a new concept that will kind of open up
the game because he's being more efficient. So it unlocks the ability.
It's like letting me collect everything and level up faster and like gain more experience.
Your character's doing more, but you as a player are doing less.
No, my character's
he's doing the same amount.
I'm in full.
He's accomplishing.
I have full agency of the character at all times. So like the mining rods are just independently working separately and collecting things for me, so then I can go craft. I can go craft on my own.
It's just that endless productivity.
If you want to go craft,
that's right.
StarCraft or Warcraft.
That's only craft for me. No, but I'm I don't know. I'm not someone who likes crafting in games typically, like in stuff like Breath of the Wild or in games that are like have other things going on and then have like crafting kind of just tacked on the side.
Hey,
and I don't want to just say it's just tacked on in Breath of the Wild. That was a little bit of a slight, but like,
careful.
But I like some of that, but it's a little bit. It's just a little bit. There's already so much going on in this game. I don't need that aspect of it. It doesn't need to have it.
I spent hours on that aspect.
Same.
I didn't.
I love that aspect. That's what made me encouraged to explore the world even more in something like Breath of the Wild. Is finding those parts. So
well, then you will. I'll tell you what. Then you will love Forager, Randall, because this is definitely that. What's like distilled into an experience?
What's the end state in Forager? What's the goal?
I don't know. I've not from what I have not encountered anything that has given me a goal in any capacity.
Because the win state in Stardew Valley is to date everyone.
But like I've gotten to like these dungeons that are clearly like going to be some kind of puzzles, or maybe there'll be a boss at the end. Like they seem more combat focused. So like I feel like there's some kind of ending. Like there is an end to the map. It doesn't just keep growing. Sure. Like there is a map. Like you've unlocked everything, but
that makes sense.
I don't know. It just has a really quick pace to it. So like you never have time to even think like, what should I do next? You just like get pulled to doing the next thing without even realizing. Again, that like an hour or two just disappeared. So I fully endorse this game. I have it physically, so I'm definitely going to let John borrow this one. Maybe not DJ, since he seems to not give a shit. But
I mean, if I can try this game without paying for it, I could.
I'd be curious. One thing I will say, I don't know why this bothers me. When you boot up the game, there's like a pixel art version of the guy who created the game, just given like a peace sign or something, and it's like. Something like, thanks for playing it says, I worked really hard on Forager and I hope you enjoy this, or I hope you love this game as much as I do. And I'm just like, don't try so hard, man. Like just rest on the game being good. I don't know. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like you don't need my sympathy.
Let the game speak for itself.
Yeah, guilt me into liking this game. I already like it. It's a cool game, man. I don't know. It wasn't. I don't know, because the sentiment I'm sure comes from a good place. You know, it comes from like a
no. He was trying to trick you. That's right, and it worked.
No, he didn't trick me.
He fooled me
with all the dopamine.
Yeah, those dopamine rushes. But no, it is a really fun game. I don't want to end on that negative note. I really enjoy it, and I really appreciate all the hard work that this person put into this game. But I just thought that was kind of like try hardy or something. I don't know, but
anyways.
I think we can move on from there to something
from one try-hardy thing to another.
Okay.
DJ and John have been playing some TERRORHYTHM, and then what is it, TRRT in parentheses or something for no reason?
Well,
maybe for a reason. TERRORHYTHM.
Those letters are all in
in that order.
It's the acronym.
So TERRORHYTHM, nice little 2D rhythm game where you play as like a fighter in the center of the screen, and a bunch of like robots and whatnot are like
coming in from either side.
Yes.
And it's very similar to, there's a game called One Finger Death Punch, and I think there's a new sequel coming out. Like gameplay wise, it's a very similar style, I guess.
Yeah.
Although this is more rhythm focused, I think.
Yeah, and so you can only do actions to the beat of the music. And you just need to clear the screen once the enemies get close enough to you that you can attack them.
There's the length of like a track of the song, so like you basically just have to stay alive and keep defeating enemies until the song ends. And like I'm pretty sure the waves of enemies are identical like each time that you play the level. No, it's different.
Really?
It's procedurally generated.
Interesting.
Really? Yeah, I did not expect that. I assumed it would maybe, because there's different difficulty settings, right? Yeah. I assumed it would be like different for each difficulty, but
no. I mean, like it's just number of enemies, and like, you know, on the hardest difficulty, like you can't even recover any health if enemies hit you at all. So it's like you have a set amount of hits you can take.
Okay.
But we have very different takes on this game.
Okay.
Well, see, I don't know if I like this game overall, but I definitely have problems with it.
Yeah. I think like it tries to be a a rhythm game and a fighting game. And for me, what I enjoy in both of those genres, I think it succeeds at being neither.
And I think you are more of a rhythm game person in general. I can't say I've played too many rhythm games.
You played stuff like Thumper and Bit Trip Runner and stuff like that.
But he's done all the Bit Trips.
Yeah, Bit Trip is one of my favorite series.
Nice.
And like I think that in the when I approach a fighting game, I am usually a lot more hectic and not very like rhythm based.
Yeah.
So when like I'm presented with like a field of enemies and like I'm constrained to a like only attacking on the beat and like.
Well, what did you think of Crypt of the Necrodancer?
I played only the Cadence of Hyrule and I turned the rhythm part off.
I'm really bad at these, like Cadence of Hyrule and Crypt of the Necrodancer. Like John and I both play in a band together, and you would think that would help our rhythm senses.
So bad.
We're terrible at this game. And for me, I think it does, like, sometimes, like, it really does come down to how they design, like, when the sound effect noises are. Like, I want it to react not when the action is happening. I want it to make the sound when I push the button, because it just, there's something about this disconnect. I don't know about in TerRRHYTHM, but
that's actually something that
they let you calibrate.
They let you calibrate, but honestly, the way they also calibrate like before as like each level starts, and the way that works like threw me off every time, because they play the song that you're level,
and then once you calibrate it, starts
it cuts over, and immediately goes back to the beginning.
I agree that was a little jarring.
Well, you should clearly just have some kind of looped intro thing that you get into the groove with, and then now the song starts.
Just all you need is the first 2 beats of a song and loop that until you get it. Yeah, but I think that also a thing that I actually really liked about it is that so you have different attacks. Like you have a normal attack, you have like kind of a charge attack, and then like also is the charge attack also what grows your area of attack?
That's separate.
So like you have a range.
Your range
of like a radius. I guess not a radius because it's 2D, but
pretty much. Yeah, it's on either side of you. Like when enemies come into that radius, you can attack them. Yeah. And basically, what I would do anytime that I wasn't like attacking an enemy is I would just increase that radius every beat.
Same.
And like I got into like that rhythm, but then I don't know, like enemies wouldn't be coming in a like the speed at which they're coming and the distance at which they're coming isn't like always on a beat. So like there's not a set because it's procedurally generated. There's not a set like pattern to get into to defeat them.
I would say not every situation you're in is possible to
clear all the enemies
without taking a hit.
So the enemies don't move to the beat. Am I hearing this right?
They like sort of do, because DJ let me play one level and it like. So you kind of, it's like you have to do all of your actions to the beat of the music, and the enemies are like kind of coming in waves, but because you're able to do this thing where you're expanding your width of attack or your radius of attack, then you can attack some enemies earlier than when they're right next to you. So like it can throw off that rhythm. At least that's the experience I had.
That makes sense.
Like when your range is at the smallest, you only get like 1 beat before an enemy would
I feel
reach
like
you.
I feel like if you left it on that, you would always if you never expanded your radius, you would always be attacking on a beat when an enemy was right next to you, essentially.
Right.
So that would line up, but then you have to keep hitting a button. You basically have to be hitting a button on the beat to keep your combo going.
Yeah, but that's not, in terms of clearing the level, that's not important.
Yeah. But if you're chasing those high scores,
like that's
you do, because that's how levels get unlocked. It's
points.
It's based on your rank, which is determined by your scores throughout the levels.
Okay. That's kind of weird.
And so even if you've like beaten all the levels you can play right now, it's like if your rank isn't high enough, you have to replay stuff. So that I was not keen on.
Like I feel like if the game didn't have like a like, you know, that procedurally generated element or that like range of attack element, or like if it was just like here are enemies coming at you and you have to hit them in the combos.
It's just a memorization game.
But that, I don't know.
I like that kind of. When it comes to rhythm games, that's like kind of the name of the game, at least for me.
Because when I would get in like situations where lots of enemies were coming, like it just seemed very overwhelming. If I could clear them all, I just felt so sweet.
Yeah.
And like I wouldn't feel that way if I just memorized it.
I don't know. I don't know, because I kind of get this. I guess when I'm thinking now about playing rhythm games, I kind of think about it as like the same as playing an instrument.
Yeah.
Like I'm not anticipating like a new note. Like I'm just like, yeah, this is how the song is played. This is how the level is played. I'm just trying to hit the beats and like do it correct. And like I get that rush from hitting everything perfect and like landing every combo. Like, yeah, I might know that like in like DDR, like I'm supposed to hit this thing, but it's only when I hit every single step perfectly, like on the beat as like it's supposed to be hit. That's where I get my jollies.
Yeah, it feels like a performance almost, you know, it really does.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I feel like I didn't deserve it as much when it's a
I mean,
set.
it's definitely harder to like anticipate things that are new, like coming at you each time.
It's very stressful, and I can kind of feed off of that stress.
I've never thought of like rhythm games in that like thought process before, and I think that's cool.
Did you like the tracks that they presented?
Yeah,
because like I did, and so for me, it's like to be kind of just like bopping around to the beat of these tracks, and then also wailing on enemies at the same time. Like it just made it feel like a little extra sweet for me.
Also, instead of just like pushing the buttons at the right time, it's like you're actually wiping out.
I guess in a way that in a game that is similar to TerrorRhythm in this respect. Have you played Super Hexagon?
I have not.
Okay,
I love that game.
Super Hexagon is also, I think, procedurally generated, or if it's not, then it's like so hectic that you can't
memorize it. No way. I guess I'm sure there's people out there who can if it's not procedurally generated. But after like 2 seconds, it's like
Super Hexagon is a. I think you can only. It's clockwise and counterclockwise around, and like you're just dodging walls in a hexagon, but the level itself is rotating, so your position changes along with that.
Oh, good.
And it's just like there are only 3 levels, there are only 3 tracks, and soundtrack done by Chipsol, who's incredible.
Great.
Yeah.
Like those tracks are some of my favorites, and I would each time like my life would be 6 seconds long, and I would just have that infinite like replayability of like I'm just diving right back in, and you can just go right back in.
I felt that with this game. Like I would instantly be like, okay, start it back up again. Like I wanted to get back into the in sync with the game.
So I get how you're approaching it then.
Yeah. The one thing that I thought was maybe unique to this was that like I think in most rhythm games it's like with Guitar Hero or a Bit Trip game, like you miss a beat, like it kind of just you missed it, go on to the next ones. But with this, if you like miss an enemy like attacking you, it damages you and then bounces off you, so you do have to attack it again. And that can like kind of, if you're in the wrong like
beat,
then that'll fuck you up, because you're not expecting them to hit, and then you're also not expecting you to have to get them again. It like
takes you out of the
thing
flow
that
state
I
a little
really
bit.
wish, I don't know if that is in like higher difficulties, I wish that you could also like hit on like quarter notes.
Ooh.
And like, or like
that'd be dope.
It would be so like I really felt like constrained, I think, when I would mess up and I would like hit someone on the beat, or like I would mess up and hit them off beat, and I'm like, cool, my rhythm's thrown, I can't just like do a quick like a quarter note mash or like triplet. That'd be sick if they could do triplets. Dope. Oh my god.
That's just essentially then just press the button whenever you want.
I know. At that point,
forget this rhythm stuff.
I get why they can't, but like, if you got like a power up, or like if it was built in where like when you are damaged, you could do a quick like.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there anything like that, like power ups or anything, or is this strictly just like an experience of just
there are weapons you can pick up And like you get a sword, which like will increase your range. Like there's a big is it a scythe or whatever, which just like destroys things that might require 2 hits.
And there's like an energy blast, which will like
hate that.
Yeah, it sucks because it like takes out an enemy that's you're approaching, and you're used to like, and then you're
used to like moving towards the enemy you're attacking
when you attack them, because you're mostly in the game like stationary in the middle of the screen, right?
And you're always stationary, but like you can
kind
move.
of like as you're attacking left, you kind of like jut out to the left.
Yes,
a little bit.
I see.
And so then like there's still that same distance you had with the people that were on the right.
Okay,
because you're going left, so that same space is continuing.
Gotcha.
But when you've got these like energy discs or whatever, like you don't move at all, and that like.
And it takes out enemies that are approaching you that you might be gearing up to do attacks on beats for, and then they're gone. And
I wish there was a way to be like, I don't want this power up.
Yeah,
yeah.
But it's a fun game. Like it didn't scratch an itch for me, but it's definitely got some good ideas.
It was a good like play before bed or like as I'm getting up in the morning kind of game. Like I
how on earth could you play this before bed? This would just amp me up.
I know.
Like
I fucked up. Well, I would get to the point where I just felt so defeated. It's like
I gotta sleep it off.
I just need to turn in.
It's great.
So I know you're mostly positive on this game, DJ, but like I know you had a little bit of a laggy experience,
yes,
and not even input wise, but like video lag. Like you were showing me some of the later levels on the harder difficulties, and it was like
there was some skipping.
Yeah, there was like some frame rate dropping, which obviously in a rhythm game is going to cause some problems.
Yeah, when you're trying to judge how much time you have before an enemy reaches you.
That's
that
bad.
Lag is
it was getting a little choppy. Did you feel that throughout? Like as in the later game, were you fending that off, or did it just pop up in patches?
It was still there, and it was kind of like a cross your fingers. I hope it doesn't pop up in your run.
Were you only playing on the hardest difficulty too, or were you playing like
some
late
of them
levels
on like
early, like
on the 190 beats per minute levels? I had to.
Oh my. Okay, doesn't it start off at like 110?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Good Lord.
190
wow.
is the highest.
Yeesh.
Yeah, I don't think I could do any of the 190 levels beyond like the second hardest difficult. Like I got to the point where I was just like,
Jeez.
well,
this
I
is
need
DJ talking, by the way.
I was just like, I need to rack up points in order to move on, so I might as well just go on the hardest difficulty. And
Oh my god.
Yeah.
so I was able to do almost all the levels on the hardest after just lots of cursing. But yeah, those 190 beat ones were like, no way. Like I had to put them on normal. Like that, the lag is way too much.
Yeah. That's a shame. Because with a rhythm game, again, that's just crucial. You get timing is everything.
Also, I'm just not good enough. I want to blame the lag a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a soft recommendation on that one, especially if it's maybe on sale or something. If you're willing to put up with a little bit of technical difficulties, on the back end of the game. But one more game that we wanted to talk about this week. John and I have been putting a little bit of time. I wouldn't say a ton. I don't want to speak for you, but playing some Lazy Galaxy Rebel Story, which I think this is a series of games. There's a couple of other games in this Lazy Galaxy series that are not shoot 'em ups. This is like a side-scrolling shoot 'em up. I think they're more like story based. I don't know much about it, but I just know that it's, or maybe it's Rebel Story is the series. I forget, but one of the two. There's some kind of series here, but this is like a 2D side-scrolling, horizontally scrolling shoot 'em up. That I've been having a pretty decent amount of fun with. We got this on sale for like 79 cents, which is just like kind of a joke. I feel almost bad that I got it for that cheap, because it is a pretty fun game, and it's like
every penny.
Yeah, and it's only like $8 normally, I think. So it's like I wouldn't be mad if I paid $8 for this game. It has 2-player co-op, and the interesting like twist in this game is that you have 3 different ships that you control at any time, or at least you start
you can get
the
up
run
to
with up to 3 ships that are either in like a triangle, like flying V formation, and then you can hit a button that will then they'll just kind of go into like a single file line.
Okay.
So it could either triple the power of like the shot that you're doing, or like spread it out.
Yeah.
So it hits a greater area.
Nice.
And even like in like the first level, even there's kind of some like obstacles that come up. Like it's easier to go into that single file formation and weave through the obstacles. And then each ship kind of has different power-ups, and there's different characters. I think 6 different ships, 6 different characters once you unlock them all. There's like a story mode that I know that's what John's been playing that just lets you kind of continue on levels and just kind of lets you play through the game in a natural way. Then there's the normal mode, which is like a permadeath mode, which is what I've been spending my time in. And then there's like a hard mode, which is just same thing, but just you do less damage, enemies or do more damage. It says, it's really nice, actually. It says right on each mode, like, story mode, if you're looking for a somewhat casual experience with a decent difficulty and you can continue and see the whole story, pick this. If you want to do this, it like literally says like normal mode, 150% damage, 120%, like it has it all broken down, so you can kind of see exactly what each mode is giving you. But again, each character kind of has different, like, will heal the other ships. Like it's not one of these one-hit kill games. It's like you can take quite a bit of damage, and you have to wait till every ship is blown up, or at least till your main ship. Yeah, I think it's only the main ship that matters. I actually don't know for sure because that's always been my last ship.
No,
left,
I'm pretty sure that's right.
But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this game. It's not bringing a whole lot new to the table. I have a lot of the same gripes that I have with a lot of shoot 'em ups, even ones that I like a lot, like Sterrodin, like the visual variety. Just that all the enemies are like these purple ships that kind of look the same, but like. Otherwise, I mean, it controls great, it plays great, there's all different power-ups, it kind of plays like a roguelike a little bit. It's not procedurally generated, I don't think, but you pick different power-ups after you beat each level. But what are you thinking about this game, John, as I ramble on about it?
I just think it's a really charming shoot 'em up. Like, I really like Sterrodin from a more hardcore, like, bullet hell type of thing. Like, when I think about, like, you know, all the boss battles and the different things, there's a lot more, like, you know, pixel perfect stuff that you're doing, where this one, like, has a lot of, like, you're rescuing different like ships, like captains, and those are how you unlock them. And I think they're all like have really like charming designs. Like they're usually all like one I think I just unlocked was like an owl that was a captain. Like you're a robot, and like you're
like an
mostly
alligator.
Yeah, you're mostly fighting against like, I don't know, like Cthulhu looking like elder god, like octopus people. So
yeah,
it just has a lot it's very brightly colored too, and like really good like pixel art. So
I didn't mean to diminish it and like saying that it has a lot of sameness in the enemy design, because the pixel art is really like it pops a little bit. It definitely that's what caught my eye as I was scrolling. 79 cents. Hey, this game looks cool.
Yeah, and it's just been a really like. Yeah, pleasant surprise that because I don't typically like, you know, I was playing Ikaruga, and I was like, I'm not good at this game.
Yeah, like, it's like you have to be like, it's just pure focus.
Yes.
On some of those.
And we were playing the Twinbee, the game that just came out on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, the Poppin' Twinbee. Yeah,
and like, you know, I typically like my shoot 'em ups to be a little bit more lighthearted in that vein.
Me
or
too.
Something, you know,
cute 'em ups.
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah. Which is what Poppin' Twinbee kind of is. Although it is still pretty difficult. I played a little bit of it as well, and you're kind of managing, like, you got to fend off the enemies on the ground. You can kind of lob bombs on the ground, and then also you have to fend off the enemies in the air. And the power up system's sort of weird and confusing.
Grab
you shoot
them
these bells that change colors. Yeah,
yeah.
So
it's not to like diminish the difficulty of them at all, but like I do like my shoot 'em ups to have more character than like masochism.
And I appreciate all the little, like, when you rescue these captains, like you kind of blow up these little capsule ships that sometimes have power ups, sometimes they have captains until you unlock them all. And then it's like they have a little dialogue segments, and there's like little breaks in the action that kind of like, again, just add to that charming factor of, I don't know, it just feels like a pretty well thought out, fleshed out experience. You know, it doesn't feel like a lot of these shoot 'em ups do just feel like, it's a mobile port of just some random shoot 'em up. Yeah. That just, you know, it's like, it seems like a relatively, I don't want to diminish, a lot of hard work goes into any game that gets made, but like, you know, it seems like a somewhat maybe easier format to, if you don't, you know, to just make a game and slap it together, you know. But this is something that feels like it has some foresight put into it, and some thought. Even though the mechanics aren't super deep, they provide a little bit different mix, and again, it just has a lot of character and charm. Yeah, goes a long way.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so I think we both can pretty confidently recommend this one.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if it's not 79 cents, it might still be on sale.
I need to check that out. That sounds like me.
It's worth checking out for sure. And it does, again, it has, I just appreciate all the different modes, like the story mode, again, if you're looking for that more casual experience, the more difficult stuff. And then the 2-player co-op obviously goes a long way with shoot 'em ups too. That gives a lot of mileage. So, 2-player co-op is great. More games need to have that. So, yeah. But anyways, I think we can pretty much wrap it up on the video game talk there this week. We'll be back next Monday.
For sports talk.
Yes. Let's go.
And the weather at 10. But yeah, that'll pretty much wrap us up this week. We'll be back next Monday, as always, with another episode of Pursuing Pixels. As always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com. We're on Twitter, Instagram at Pursuing Pixels. Just look us up on Instagram. We even streamed some Rocket League before we recorded tonight. Nice. Sans Randall, unfortunately.
Sans Randall.
We streamed a little Rocket League. We're going to try to maybe start doing a little more streaming here and there on our Twitch channel too. So yeah, just keep an eye out. Drop us a line at pursuingpixels@gmail.com if you want to let us know or ask us a question or anything. Someday that'll happen maybe. And then, we'll talk to you all next week. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, and then Pokemon was like the next game that I actually like remembered.
God, I played so much Pokemon Red and Blue when they came out.
That shit came out in 98 in the US, and the Game Boy came out in like 89. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That is kind of nuts. Like that Pokemon came out when Nintendo 64 was a thing.
Yeah. Nintendo 64 was like
crazy.
An established thing by that point.
Yeah.
I remember getting the VHS in the mail that was an advertisement for Pokemon to sell it to an American audience.
I ate that shit up.
Yeah. I fucking love this. Yes. Give me this. I need this.
Yes.
Have you guys seen that? What's that new game called that is like an MMO Pokemon thing to the point where to the point where like a lot of those monsters look strikingly. I'm like, there's fucking Cubone, there's Meowth, there's it's exact. There's Lapras, it's crazy. Like that there's gotta be a lawsuit, right?
Yeah.
They probably did their research of what
I'm
they could
sure
get away
they did.
with.
It looks cool. I mean, it actually looks awesome.
They're not gonna get sued.